Well, Danny, first of all, what's your reaction to the FA Cup draw, a home tie against West Brom?
Yeah, I think it's one of them. Like, I was a big advocate for a massive team away for loads of different reasons, and if you don't get that, then I think we've probably got the next best one on paper. I think it's a winnable game from our point of view. I think it'll be I'm pretty damn sure it'll be a sellout crowd here. Hopefully the TV cameras choose to come and watch, National League versus a big championship team. So yeah, I think it's got all the makings to be a really good cup tie. They're obviously not in a fantastic position in the championship, although they've had some good results recently. So whether their manager chooses to rest a few or not, who knows how he's going to approach the game. That's not our concern. Our concern is packing this out and hopefully giving the supporters a night to remember.
Yeah, it should be a really good opportunity to test yourself against a championship club as well, shouldn't it? You've obviously faced some League Two sides this season and last season, but a first chance to hit your wits against a championship side.
Yeah, I think what's good is that the lads have gone and tested themselves against good League Two opposition in the last two rounds and more than held their own, as the results have testified. And then now it's not just another league; it's a two leagues up with a lot of lads who've played in the Premier League. So I think that the cliches go out the window of go and show there's not much between us and League Two, because we know there's massive gaps between us and the Championship. But on the day in the FA Cup, anything can happen, and what a great feeling for those players if we did turn over West Brom and knowing they've got one up on ex-Premier League players if their manager chooses to play them. But for the here and now, it's all about Halifax. But yeah, back to your original question, I think it's a very decent draw for the football club.
As you say, back to league action this weekend then against Halifax. What sort of challenge are you expecting at the Shea then?
It's always going to be difficult. It's Halifax. They've got a manager who was the assistant there for years, and I'm sure the players run through brick walls for him. They had a really indifferent start and then picked up some decent results, and they're in an okay position now. I'm sure Chris and his staff would like them to be a bit higher, but with them they're always built on hard work. I find Halifax teams, it's a club I think where we go and we've won probably since I've been here. We've won probably more than we've lost, but it's still a tough place to go. I thought we probably should have won the league game there last year on TV, but let ourselves down in the defensive third. And obviously in the playoffs, it's a great night for everyone, albeit it come crumbling down at Solihull. I thought that game in the playoffs was a really, really exciting game for everyone. So they lost a lot of key players, but he's recruited well, and they'll be working. I think they've changed the formation slightly from the Pete Wild days, so we'll have to be ready for everything they throw at us.
Yeah, are they in a little bit of a transitional period, do you think, sort of from moving on from Pete Wild and the sort of changeover in recruitment? Do you think that's all they just sort of got off to a bit of a slow start, but seems to be picking up a little bit now? Yeah,
I think, listen, in their defence, they lost the lad Green in midfield, Mayer at the back, Bradbury at the back, Waters. They lost some good players. They lost some really good players which is hard for anyone. So he's a really, really good bloke, their manager. Obviously, on the day we'll have no soft spots for them, but I'm sure they'll work their socks off for him with the players they've recruited well. They've replaced them, I think, really well. The lads that have gone, I'm sure that they would rather have not have lost those players, but that's football. Like I said the other day, I don't think many people had sympathy for us when we had all those players out injured last year. So it's not a league where you can afford to have soft spots for opposition, and we've certainly got to go there and be ruthless and hopefully win the game.
Ash Palmer made his debut on Saturday. How's his first few days of training going? Has he settled in okay?
He's settled in really well. We had a behind closed doors game at Burton Albion on Tuesday, held at St George's Park. The ones who didn't play had a training session with Gary, and then I took the team, you say reserves, but the lads who have not been playing against Burton, who virtually had their first team out, and the boys did really well. Palms being one of them. So he's basically had nearly 2 games since he's arrived. So we're getting his fitness up to scratch. Not just Palms, but all the other players, really approach the game properly. It's hard those behind closed doors games sometimes because it's easy for lads to take the foot off the gas a bit, but the manager won't allow that. They know the standards that he sets, and obviously, he doesn't like to change a winning team, but they're certainly giving us all food for thought at the moment.
Was that a real good opportunity then to get some minutes into some players' legs who have not featured quite so much this season then?
Yeah, and obviously since abolition of the old reserve leagues we had all over the countries, where there was at least one game a fortnight at least for lads who weren't playing. It was never great to be one of those players in the reserves every week, but at least it kept your fitness up. So now and then we do try and organise behind closed door games. Burton, luckily, they wanted one, and they sorted out the facilities at St George's, which was great, and it keeps all those players that haven't been playing ticking over, which is really important, because you can see, at any minute lads can step into the team and then keep their shirt.
Not that it matters, but are you able to tell us the score or any other details about it?
I think we won 2-0, and I think Kwasi and Jez scored. And from we had a young Luke Chabot in goal, which obviously we don't have a goalie on the bench for league games, so the fans don't know much about him. He's a young lad who's been great in training, such a good lad, helps out with everything that needs helping around the ground, just really keen to learn and kick on. So it's great for him to play a proper game and keep a clean sheet. And then you look at the older lads like Palms, so Loz ain't old, but he's more experienced, and two centre-halves treated the game properly. From 1 to 11 they did it right, so it's important they get credit for that from us as staff, because it's very easy just to focus on the lads that are playing. But when you go and play those behind closed doors games, it's important that if they come out of it with credit, they hear it from us as staff, and they certainly did that.
Yeah, just on Lawrence Maguire, I think he's only played something like 40 minutes this season. What sort of mindset is he in? Because obviously, I'm sure he'd love to be playing. Does he need to get some football elsewhere? What's sort of the situation with him?
Well, I think the situation at the minute, Liam, is if you look now with Palms, we've got Palms and Tyrone can do the right side, and obviously Grimes and Loz can do the left side. There was a period where, I think that bad week we had, where I think our defence and back line was getting a bit of stick, and the manager rightly so stuck with that same team, and as a team you come through the other side. And I think the way we play, sometimes it's very expansive, and teams will sometimes counter us. It's important that our defenders can mark man for man, and not have that much cover. I know Mike Jones has brought that little bit of security to the team on counter attacks when we defend them, but Loz is one of those players that can, we all feel if God forbid Grimes was to get injured or whatever, he can step in on that left side, a shadow of a doubt. He's been ever so professional during this period. He understands the situation that Grimes and Tyrone are in a winning team and playing really well. And Palms has come in and understands the same. And to get promotion, you do need competition for places, and you need those lads who are waiting in the wings to have a really good mindset. Because if they've got a negative mindset and sulk and don't want to be here and not prepared to step into the void if they're needed, you might as well not have them. So we're lucky in Lawrence and Palms at this moment, and it is at this moment because things can change, that we've got two really good experienced centre-halves just ready to step in and help us get to where we want to get.
Is it just a case of Lawrence having to be patient and waiting for his chance then more than anything else?
Yeah, I think so, and Lawrence understands that. Like I say, I've like a broken record with it in terms of the training groups we have and the training attitude. It goes so far, and I can't even count on one hand. There's been no occasions I've seen in a training session this year where I've seen lads not really trying or sulking or their heads elsewhere. They're at it, and that's what you need to kick on in football and in life. You need that positive mindset, and Lawrence, as have all the other players, by the way, that have not been involved, has showed that day in, day out.
How's Tyrone Williams after coming off with blurred vision the other day?
Yeah, much better. I think it wasn't concussion. We did all the tests, so luckily it was. At the time, you can't take the risk. Obviously, in the heat of the moment, you can't just have 20 minutes to assess him. And obviously, with Palms and Lawrence Maguire, it's an easy decision to make, knowing that someone can just step in and fill the gap that he'd left. The biggest thing, I joked about it after, was his vision was blurred, so you couldn't risk putting him on and making a mistake, let alone for his own safety. So he's training fully today, and he'll be definitely available for selection Saturday.
That's quite a big selection, a nice selection headache for the manager to have, because obviously Tyrone's been playing really well. Yeah. Ash comes on for his debut and also does a good job, so that's a nice selection headache for the manager this weekend, is it? It
is, yeah, and it's that it's that old thing, it's 6 for one, half dozen for the other. You say, well, okay, you don't want to change your winning team, but then lad comes on and is part of the winning team, so it's a really difficult situation. A good situation, by the way. It's a great headache to have for the manager, but yeah, it's a tough one. Also, you're going back to 5 subs, so you have 9 subs at Wimbledon, so you've got 4 of them aren't going to be in the squad, which is a real sort of blow if you're a player not to be in that match day squad. But what can you do? You've got to crack on, and we've shown this year when lads haven't been in the squad, when they're called upon, they've come in and kept the shirt, i.e. Bailey Clements and Tom Whelan, and long may that continue.
And George Cooper as well, I think you mentioned he'd got a bit of a thigh strain the other day. How's he?
I think he'll be struggling for the weekend. He was in yesterday with the physio and in this morning. He may train tomorrow, but I think it might be a step too far for him this weekend.
And do you have any other fresh injury concerns, any doubts for this one?
No doubts. Ollie Banks is nearing ever closer. I think this will be too quick for him as well. We're looking for him hopefully to be in and around it for Dorking at home next week. Apart from that, touch wood, we come through training okay today, and tomorrow it'll be the same as you were from Wimbledon.